Laurie, I know you just said if we have questions, ask you later, but
Sure.
Is
it a follow-up to the all-day K?
To what you just said,
Sure.
yes. I have heard in recent studies that they're finding that, yes, a child who has the early childhood all day gets a better start right then, but by 3rd grade, it pretty much plateaus out.
Yes, exactly.
And so are we gaining anything, or is it just a glorified babysitter?
That's a really good question. And, you know, from the time that I was a kindergartner till now, kindergarten has changed dramatically.
And yet you're a success, right?
Maybe that's a problem.
But
We, you know, we've got kids who are entering school kindergarten ready to read. We've got kids who are, we're starting math much earlier. And so all-day kindergarten, kids are essentially ready for all-day school. And it's, I don't see it as a glorified babysitter, but because we allow school districts the flexibility to get the best early childhood success, which is what our school district is asking for, we allow, you know, my goal is to allow schools to use their dollars in the best way for the community. And so it's, do you have, you had a follow-up?
And it's just, I think, you know, your point about sort of keeping that benefit going through the educational years so that children would benefit from it is the correct focus. That's part of the discussion about having the best teachers in the classroom, making sure that the schools are responsive to the needs of the kids.
He's making as much sense as they are.
It is an important thing that you don't lose the benefits of those early years. And that is, you know, it's the focus of educational research.
Just a quick statement on that though, just when you're thinking about that, just make sure that there are teachers for the kindergarten school for the free. Because what's happening is they aren't done by teachers, they're done by hired people just helping. Keep that in mind though,
Okay.
when they're writing the bills and stuff.
Yeah.
They better be
That's because
teachers,
the
not
number
just people.
of students in kindergarten has accelerated.
Yeah.
I read to kindergarten kids, and I have been doing it for 16 years. I've watched the numbers go from 16 kindergartners in a class to 28 to 30 in a class. There is no way that one kindergarten teacher can teach to all those kids. They need help.
And please don't make it a certification. The certification process is one of the worst things I've seen. I'm from other states. I've been in other states, and they don't require a kindergarten teacher, well, they don't require a pre-kindergarten person to be certified. Be careful on requiring more regulations that'll limit the person right here from going to do what she's doing. You'll set up a 2-year program. You got to spend $20,000 to get a certification, and you'll cut out these people right here who can do a fine job at how it's.
You know, there's a lot of interrupting, and I want to be respectful of the process and try to get back to questions. But all this stuff in education, I had 2 personal stories really hit home. I had a girlfriend who teaches in California. She got to her schools and she started tearing. Not because these schools, she was tearing because their schools here were so fantastic, and that we denied that. I have another friend in Florida, and the principal of her school said, if you can afford it, don't send your kid here. She lives in a 4,000 square foot house. She pays $6,000 a year in property taxes. And the principal of her neighborhood school says, if you can still afford to send your kid, do it. And so, but they don't have any state taxes. So, but I do want to get back to this, but we have a wonderful education system because of this type of process.
Well, and I want to be sure that we get through our questions, so.
Yeah, you can only speak if you're an educator at this point.
Well, I heard, I just want to make one point. I personally heard from a couple of teachers that are pre-kindergarten teachers, and they say they spend most of their time doing paperwork instead of teaching the pre-K students. So.
I think that that's an excellent point, and I think that, you know, anybody who's not spending, I think that our dollars going to the classroom need to be going to connections and time with the kids, and I completely agree. That's anything that's onerous, and I know that hard questions are being asked in that regard, and so those kinds of comments, as Bennett's taking notes here, because I'm not on an education committee, where your comments are going to go are going to be to the chair of the education committee, and so just so that you know that folks, so that Eagan has a voice in all these committees. Even if I don't sit on them, you guys are going to have your comments heard with those folks who are directly making those policies right now. So.
So I'm guessing we could probably talk about education all night long.
We could, and we're gonna have another forum for this very reason.
So I want to spread around here, a couple
Okay.
different issues. One of them is about transportation infrastructure, roads, bridges.
Okay, that's a great question. Huge issue, and this gets to be, to me, part of the conversation about where our state priorities are. And one of the things that's really surprising me, being a new state legislator, is nobody's coming into my office with ideas on how to cut government. It doesn't matter where people are coming from, they like portions of the spending in our state. And it's because if we're getting something of value that's working for our communities, folks like it. So that to me is the biggest surprise. In fact, the only people who didn't ask for more money when they come to see me so far is a group of food service workers from one of our school districts who are working with an unfunded federal mandate, who could have asked for more money, but they didn't. So
I didn't hear what the question was. I never heard what
it's
the
about
question was.
transportation, kind of like what
I
kind
heard
of,
that it was about transportation, but I never heard the question. I thought you were gonna answer our questions.
It's a broad question.
It's a broad question about, what about transportation infrastructure? Where does that fit into the budget? Where does transportation fit into this whole budget?
And that was the question that you picked out of that whole pile? Was the
and
most broad one you
transportation
could
is a really
find?
important issue. So, and it's important to businesses right here in Eagan. I actually did have a meeting over at DART Transit, and we're talking about those businesses, and you guys all, anybody who commutes to work in Eagan knows how many transit companies are in our district, because we're competing with them on the roads every single morning to get to work. And so these are about our businesses in Eagan being able to get their goods to market. And these are, having a crumbling infrastructure is of great concern to these folks. And so the question is, how does it fit into the state budget? And it is a high priority. And actually, on the other side of the district, Sandy Mason sits on the transportation committee. How to fund it is the big question, as it is with everything. I think everybody's in agreement that we need to fix our aging infrastructure. We need to make sure that our bridges are safe. We need to make sure that our roads aren't beating up our cars, aren't beating up the semi-trucks that are on the road, and that we're able to move traffic through our community. So some big things are going on in terms of investment in our community, and bus rapid transit along Cedar Avenue is one of those investments. And I'll tell you, I've got folks, business community, commuters, people from Apple Valley, people from Eagan, who are really excited about this opportunity, because it's going to mean more cars off the road. It's going to mean easier transportation for folks who are trying to get goods to marketplace. And it's a really, it's got a lot of promise to be a really good solution for the growth that we're seeing down here in the South Metro. A lot of transportation. Pardon?
Is it self-sufficient?
Well, I mean,
What's it subsidized?
No.
it's not.
No subsidies for it?
Pardon me?